Who right now would be like the big 3 in terms of MVPs for the first 10 chapters? Who you guys got?
MVP?
Yeah,
Alright.
MVPs. In order, big 3.
Could, like, a villain be an MVP for, like, their side, the antagonist side?
Just 3, just whoever you want. 3 characters in TBV.
I'll go Boruto number 1. I think he's probably in the lead right now for MVP. You feel me? He got the odds on his side. He like minus 200. Um, Number 2, I'd say, this is close. This is matter of fact, Imma go a villain. Imma go number 2 would be Code, simply because he's pretty much like the originator for all the villains that we do have as of right now,
Oh,
and so, like, as an antagonist, he'd probably be the MVP because he was,
whoa.
like, the most impactful as of right now, and to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily give it to him if this didn't necessarily, like, kind of play into his plan. What he does want to do is he does wanna eventually have Boruto or Kawaki be, like, devoured by these ten-tail figures or the ten-tails period, and the Shinju thing, we were kinda discussing earlier, kinda
Mhm.
just put everything on, like, autopilot, like, or it pretty much do it itself, so I feel like he could be number 2. If I'd go with number 3, I'd say Shikamaru. I think Shikamaru
Whoa.
is going out on a limb with actually communicating with Boruto. I think that right there is gonna actually, like, provide some long-term impact that's gonna be extremely it's gonna do the Hidden Leaf Village extremely good. Not only that, for the security as of right now, I think having Boruto on kind of his good side, that right there in itself is, like, extremely impactful. So I feel like Shikamaru, like, kind of facilitating the number 1 of the MVP, just, like, kinda just puts him at number 3.
That is a hell of a list. I did not that
Yeah.
that took me places. Okay, I rock with that list.
Mm,
That was
mm.
interesting. What about you, Meek?
Yeah, so number one is easily Boruto. I think everyone's gonna have Boruto at number one. He is been by
Yeah.
far like the best and most valuable character in the time skip so far. I think there's no discussion about it. Just his presence, his power when like fighting Code, saving the village, his ability to come in and out of Konoha, helping everyone. I think it's been very impactful. It's been the most impactful thus far. Number two, I'm gonna go Juro. Right. I know, Bar, you mentioned Code, but I think Juro and like the rest of the Tensels, that was something out of Code's control. He didn't really understand what was going on with those type of characters. And even though yes, they were influenced by Code's claw marks, these are its own sentient beings. Right. And I think when it comes to a character like Jura, he is trying to understand and like find out what his true purpose is as a Tentels. Right. He's trying to devour Naruto, now he's trying to devour Himawari, and he's most likely going to evolve that goal and most likely get more powerful from there with his with his desire to learn more about the world. And I think that's very important because that's probably the most unique we've seen from a villain, at least amongst the main villains like a Momoshiki, like a Ishiki so far. I think that poses a big threat to what he truly wants as he's trying to devour these characters. Eventually it will change. Number 3, I'm going to go Shikamaru as well. I think Shikamaru's Hokage has really impressed me with the fact that he was able to he was able to find out what omnipotence is without really being informed about it. He was essentially able to break down what it was by understanding that Boruto was
True.
essentially thrown under the bus, and his beliefs were confirmed once he was able to talk to Boruto. And now he's working with Boruto from the outside, or he's working with Boruto from the inside to play both sides of the field when it comes to helping out Konoha and the Hokage killer per se. And I think that role is going to continue as the series progresses, as long as he stays alive. Because if he gets killed in the next few chapters, I might have to change my positioning. But so far, he's been impressive as Hokage. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie. Even though, like on a power standpoint, he's not gonna do much.
yeah.
Obviously, Shikamaru is strong. Don't get it messed up, but
He's
he's
the
not. I don't think he's
brains.
able to contend with these characters. His smartness so far, his IQ, his ability
Yeah.
to think, and ability to essentially find loopholes through this omnipotence by being able to differentiate that Boruto really isn't the bad guy after all, and
Mhm.
that Kawaki was the one that manipulated the entire story. That's really impressive because he's the one that controls the village now. He's the eighth Hokage after all, and with his influence, because of this knowledge that he does have, and the information that he does have at hand, he can influence how Konoha thinks, especially when it comes to Boruto as well. Like if the village, for example, like if Boruto comes into the village and they want and like random fighter ninja attack him, Shikamaru can call that off in order to, find a bigger purpose, right?
Right.
Sarada was talking to him about it, and then eventually he was able to come to his senses when it comes to that. An
Yeah.
honorable mention though, I'm gonna say Himawari. She's not
Mm,
there yet, but I do think she's gonna make her way into that top three because of the Nine Tails. I think her acceptance, what kind of showed me that she can become a lot more relevant character, an important character, is the fact that she already accepted that she's the Nine Tails Jinchuriki
mhm.
when Kurama informed her about the Nine Tails and that she's the new Jinchuriki. She immediately took it in. She wasn't scared or anything.
Right.
She wasn't confused. She immediately came to her senses about it
Mhm.
and accepted that role instantly. I think that's really important because Kurama was actually impressed by it and was like
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, that's my girl," ooh, ooh, all that stuff. And I was like, "Oh, let's go Himawari at the end of the chapter, ready to fight Jura." That's really important. But yeah, that's my top three.
Yeah.
What about you, Free Game?
My top three, of course, Boruto number one. Mine's going to kind of be a little bit similar to Meek's because I'm definitely putting Shikamaru as number two because he is the only one that seems like besides other people who are questioning it too, but he seems like the only person who is affected with omnipotence, who is questioning, his memory, and he's actually trusting Boruto and working with him, and he found a way to communicate with Boruto without anybody else hearing it, and so Shikamaru, he always been a great strategist. So like even since part one, so him for sure. Even though like Meek said, like he isn't the most powerful, but it isn't always about power. It was always stated in Naruto like it was about skill more than power. So I think Konohamaru, sorry, not Konohamaru, Shikamaru number two. My number three choice, that's a hard one. I'm gonna go with Jorah. I'm gonna go with Jorah. I like Jorah as a character. Joe is super interesting. Like we were speaking about before, like he's kind of like a baby. He's soaking in knowledge. He wants to learn more. He's interested in the world around him. He's every chapter he's more impressed about what he learned and the books that he's been reading and stuff like that. I'm starting to think that he's starting to experience that the books aren't just everything. He has to learn from personal experience too. But yeah.
Dope list. Dope
That
list.
that's actually fire. Before I go, Mel, you got a list?
Yes. So I will say Boruto Uzumaki, obviously, mostly because his character is really the catalyst, I think, that is really bringing in the hype and anticipation for Two Blue Vortex. Like he's really holding the series up, right? I think it was it Atlas who holds the world up or something in Greek mythology? Maybe I'm completely wrong. In fact, I'm pretty sure I am. But maybe you know who I'm talking about, and they'll let me know. But he has the weight of the series on his shoulders, and he's carrying it like a man should. So I rock with little bro. Flying Thunder God showing up in pivotal moments, the swagger, the stoic energy, like the mystery surrounding the character, everything about him is just like a vibe. So I think more so than anything, he's a franchise player. Not even just what he's doing in the series, but how that like branches outwards into like the fan base and into like the real world and how people, hey bro, like that's Boruto now. Like, oh I gotta pull it. He pulling out the sword, like he pulling out the flying thunder god, like he rocking the planet with a brand new. Oh, I got to pull up. So he has to be the MVP because he's holding it down, right? He's LeBron James. He's Michael Jordan. Okay. So
Mm.
definitely Boruto a number one. Number two, I think next to every great hero must be a great villain, right? I'm thinking of a Nagato, I'm thinking of an Obito, I'm thinking of a You thought I was gonna say Madara, didn't you? You thought. No, not Madara. But I do think villains make the series, right? So I think Jura is definitely holding it down right now. He's a very compelling and interesting character. There's depth there. He's very new, but also innovative. You haven't really seen too much like this, where a character is like so new to the world and they're trying to figure things out, and the character hasn't even really formed an ideology yet. Speaking of a Nagato and a Pain, I mentioned that this arc is very similar to the Pain Invasion arc. Well, you take a look at Jura, he's not like a Nagato, he's not like a Pain, even though those similarities are there in his actions and visual similarities with the Rinnegan and such. But yeah, such a compelling character. Like, hey, I don't want to kill you guys. Hey, I'm gonna praise your teamwork. Hey, I'm trying to get a goal or achieve a goal or get a target, and you're just in my way. Go away. And then he even kills a child, and he's like, "Oh, I read about this. This is what they call aesthetics." I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so now he's going down this path where he finds beauty in death. That's very destructive, but also kind of like poetic in a dark way." Kind of reminds me of a show, Hannibal Lecter, with my boy Mads Mikkelsen and Lawrence Fishburne. Fantastic show. Definitely recommended for chat. But yeah, so I'm liking the direction of the character. Unique, innovative, and compelling, and I want to see more, and that's a good thing. Number three is a tough one because I want to throw Sarada in there, but I will admit right now, I do think Shikamaru. I do think it's Shikamaru. He is holding it down. He's doing the role of the Hokage, but he's also making boss moves in the shadows and using his mind to kind of work around these god tier entities like a Daemon and an Ada, right? How he convinced, excuse me, how he strategized, to come around and communicate with him so that he can set up a line of communication with her and figure some stuff out and set that with board. So ingenious, right? Of course, that's what you would expect from him. All the while juggling omnipotence, all the while juggling that his friend Naruto is still alive and having to deal with that emotionally, all the while juggling that Konoha is in a really bad place politically, right? They're looking very, very weak. Okay, they're looking like a barbecue chicken to all the other villages. So there's a lot of things that he has to wrestle with, and he does it with such poise and such mastery that you can't help but put him at least in the top three. So those would be my big three: Boruto Uzumaki, Jura, and of course Shikamaru Nara. 100%. That's my big three. But did
Okay,
you have something that you wanted to say, Bar?
I like that.
So I did have like a
Well,
yeah.
yeah, well, not your list kind of straight. Well, kind of enforces what I was about to say. It's crazy how before the time skip, Shikamaru was on a list of like most likely to die, and now just 10 chapters after, he's like
Hmm.
in like a consensus top three MVP in TBV. Like it's crazy. Like the glow up
Yeah,
is crazy for my guy Shikamaru.
yeah.
Facts. Shout out him.